Welcome to Who Made This Mess? Raising Children and Reparenting Ourselves. Here we discuss the joys and challenges of parenting while trying to develop our own self-awareness and self-compassion. Raising children can be messy and so hard, but we believe that as we learn to embrace our own messiness and imperfection, we can learn to show up for our kids and raise a gentler generation.
Hi, welcome back. If this is your first time, I'm Angie.
And I'm Shauna.
Glad to have you here today. We're talking about another important topic, being kind to yourself, self-kindness.
Yes, this is a hard one.
It is.
I think, I was just thinking this podcast is called Who Made This Mess?
Mm-hmm.
And it was us.
It really comes into play with this one.
Yeah. Like we can sometimes be so hard on ourselves. Mm-hmm. I absolutely struggle with self-kindness and self-compassion. And I'm on a journey working towards it, but I can be really mean to myself.
Yeah. I heard a quote years ago now. It just came to my mind. It was that we accept the love that we think we deserve. And It's like, I know I accept the kindness I think I deserve. I accept only the praise I think I deserve. The compliments. I mean, all of it. And so, it's a tough one.
Yeah. It's really hard for us to accept love and kindness from other people when we don't have that for ourselves.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think too, like self-kindness, the way we treat ourselves, the way that we respond to ourselves when we make mistakes, when we don't meet our own expectations, it affects our mental health in a huge way.
It does,
yeah. And for me, I've been working on this. I go to therapy. I'm a therapist and I go to therapy, and I've been working really hard to kind of rewire my brain. I think this is when reparenting comes into play. Reparenting meaning like how we treat ourselves now, how we respond to ourselves now, and trying to be responsive. But for me, learning that it is okay to make mistakes. I do not have to be perfect all the time. I still get this feeling of like, oh, I don't know if I believe that.
And that it doesn't have to look exactly like what we grew up with. I know that the comparison game in our mind about, well, this is how my mom did it. This is how my family looked at on like a weeknight. We all sat down at the table. Mom had dinner ready every single night. And when that doesn't happen for me, I take it so hard because I take it as I'm not doing a good job. And it's like, well, today's time is so different. Our schedules look different than what they looked like then. And so just, again, being kind to yourself is awareness of the differences of what you're comparing. What are you comparing to? I think comparing can be healthy when you use it as either a goal, because it's a natural thing to have a goal to work towards, but it can be dangerous when if you don't meet that standard you've made in your mind, how you use that. It can be rough.
It really gets to be pretty toxic. I remember this fall, I really wanted to go to the pumpkin patch with my daughter, and I had all of these visions of like, oh, we're going to go to the pumpkin patch because like everybody goes to the pumpkin patch with their kids and they do these really fun things. And like, I got myself to the pumpkin patch. I made plans with my best friend, and, they were running a little bit late. And so my daughter and I were there by ourselves, and I found myself sitting there waiting for my friend and just looking at all of the moms around me and like, oh, they dressed so cute. Oh, they did their hair and makeup. Oh,
picture.
I'm like, why didn't I do that?
so trendy.
Like, yeah, I feel so embarrassed. I should have, like, I'm just wearing like normal clothes and my hair is in a mom bun. And like, I was really excited to go to the pumpkin patch.
Aww.
And then once I got there, I realized like that comparison was stealing my joy.
It did. I was just going to say it took the joy.
Yeah. And I got over it, and eventually I was able to be present there. But I think so many times like we become our own worst enemy. This inner critic tells us about how we're not good enough and we don't have our life together enough. And
right. And allowing moments like that, especially today with social media and again, like the trends, like a moment that's fine and enjoyable and comfortable in everyday life. We and what I had to learn is it's something that I'm allowing, because I used to just point the finger like, oh, you put this pressure on me, or you did it this way, and stuff like that. And it's like, no, they can do it the way they want to. It's up to me whether I allow that to take my joy out of the moment or not. And that's hard, because that's looking back at me. That's putting the mirror on me, and it's tough work.
Yeah, absolutely. When we think about this inner critic and practicing more self-kindness, I think it's important to think about the connection of our thoughts to our feelings, right? Our thoughts and our feelings and our behaviors are actually all kind of connected in this big circle. Right. And those thoughts are powerful. So when we're thinking these negative things that, by the way, we would never say to anyone else, right? Like we would never be that mean or cruel to say to somebody else the things that we say to ourselves, right?
That's very true.
When we have those thoughts, it leads to feelings, right? And so that negative self-talk is connected to these feelings of shame, feelings of sadness, of anger, anxiety, right? Like those thoughts can be really powerful, and also can influence our behaviors, right? So sometimes the negative self-talk that we have can lead to like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we think like, oh, I'm never going to get, my house cleaned up, or I'm never going to find a job that's meaningful to me, or I'm never going to be calm with my kids. I'm always going to have this bad temper, right? Like those things are going to be true if we think them.
Right, exactly. Yep. And one thing that came to my mind was, if you're using those thoughts of negativity can bring more positive or negative outcomes by, I think the world will say that if you use it to just fuel you to be more productive, to check off more boxes on your list of like what you think is correct and appropriate, or you can use it to empty your tank, and then you can just like do nothing, and then you're lazy. And so the world might like applaud, well, just take on more, use it to fuel you. I'm going to show, like, this is a big one. I'm going to show my enemies, or I'm going to show you that that this is wrong. Or,
show the haters.
Yeah, show the haters is a big thing. And it's like, no, like, for the most part, those people aren't even thinking about you. And so you're just wasting all your effort and energy and fuel on the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
And it can come back into then what lacks in your household, because you're putting all this energy into other things that don't really matter. But you're allowing others, that's something I had to learn, allowing others' approval to be your goal.
Yeah. And like what other people think of us, it matters to us when it's the people that we really care about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we have to really think about who's our circle of influence, that we want what they think and what they feel to have weight in our lives, and who are the people that we just need to let it go.
Right.
Like
it's so unhealthy.
Yeah. Like none of those moms at, the pumpkin patch mattered to me and my happiness, right? Like them in their cute little sweaters with their cute little pumpkin outfits, right? Like it let them have their joy.
Yes.
But they probably didn't even notice me, right, to judge me. And like I don't have to be like them. Yeah.
Right.
Like don't let that steal my joy. But why do you think that people have such a hard time being kind to themselves? What are some of the reasons that you think?
I think it has to do with like your self-value growing up. Just I know for myself, I had a lot of encouragement and love, kind words poured into me, but I struggled so much with confidence on my own. From being disabled, I was also a minority in the area that we were in, and just I didn't take enough of who God said I am, and just allowed those thoughts of, well, I'm less because of these things, and kind of just let my mind go and let it rule over what God really said that what worth that I had. And so years of that, we're talking, I'm 35 now. And so it was years and years and years of being unkind to myself makes it hard to flip that switch now as a mom and a 35-year-old. And it's something that I do want to be intentional about now so that I can teach my children to be kind to themselves.
Absolutely.
And reflect that and model that. So
yeah, I think for some people, they did not get that. They didn't get love and encouragement and support. They got negative messages about themselves. But even if we got really positive messages from the people that were caring for us and the people that we cared about, we can still sometimes develop a lack of self-kindness and a lot of self-criticism. I think, parents can be really encouraging and give lots of praise, and that is important and that is good. And it models being kind to others, right? Like my mom giving me a lot of praise modeled for me how to give other people praise, right? Yes, it instilled confidence in me in certain ways, but my mom modeling self-criticism, maybe like saying negative things about herself, that also modeled self-criticism for me, right? And so, I think that's really common for us, as moms or, as women. I think sometimes we might make comments about our appearance. Like, I think I probably already said this to you, like, oh, I hate seeing my rolls, right? Like, your body changes, everything's different. You might complain about your body. If I say that in front of my child, I can tell her all day long, you're so beautiful, like you're so strong. If she hears me talking negatively to myself, she is going to learn, be nice to other people, but you got to, really be honest with yourself and really be harsh with yourself. Right.
And that is so true. And I have learned that actually with my daughter, 10 years old. Yeah. She does hear me saying those kind of comments like, oh, this doesn't fit, this doesn't look good on me, or no, I need to do this, I need to do that. Right now she is witnessing me trying to eat better and stuff, and I need to again make sure that I'm showing her that eating better is a choice that I'm making because I want to be healthy and not necessarily show her, of course, I would love to lose some pounds, but I need to show her that I'm making a change to be healthy and it not be, well, this size is what's deemed appropriate, successful. Like you're only doing it right if you're this size and stuff like that, because she's paying attention to those things. And I did have a moment or two where I made a comment about something. I don't know if it could have been that I was like looking at a picture on a phone and was saying, oh, I need to delete that one, I look this way in this picture, or or just something else. And I don't remember what the moment was, but I remember her reaction, and she just said, "Oh, Mom." And I was like, "Oh, you heard that?"
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and I knew she was in the room. I knew she heard it, but like she took it in.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that was like a moment for me. And so I was like, okay, I have to work harder at this. And I have not gotten it right. I will admit, I have not gotten it right since that moment. And there have been times I've done better. There's been times I've done worse, way worse, because I get in those moments, I'm unkind to myself, and it shows. It
Yeah.
shows.
But I think like back to some of those goals or these ideas of health, learning to be motivated by self-love rather than self-hate.
Right. Very true.
Yeah. And like trying to take care of my body because I love my body and I want it to function for me. And I want to, be able to move more easily. I want to have a strong heart because I love my body and I want to take care of it. And I don't think that was a message when we were growing up that was very popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot of like, oh, you want to look like a supermodel or you want to.
Well, and that's where like the praise comes in. The praise comes
Yeah.
in when you look really nice,
Yes.
And
yes.
one thing that at the preschool we made sure to do was when a child came in the room, we were giving them compliments based off of like who they were. So, oh, I love your smile today. Oh, it's so good to see you. I was waiting for a friend to come in and stuff like that. And so we had to be mindful of it because what's the first thing that I used to say to a small child or to my own kids? And oh, I love your shoes, I love your shirt, and it's about what you're wearing. Oh, your hair looks so cute, I love your bow. And so at the preschool we definitely made sure to be mindful of not it went for a few reasons, but one of the reasons was to not comment specifically about cute clothing was because we had students coming to our school from many different like status levels, and so there were children who may have come in with the same green shirt more than once out of the week and stuff like that. And so they might not have had Disney characters on their clothes or matching shoes and stuff like that. Their parent may not have been able to spend 30 minutes on the hair, and stuff like that. And so at the same time, it's like modeling that it's not giving compliments, not just based on appearance. And that takes work and it takes mindfulness again,
Yes. And like thinking those things about yourself, right? Like,
Yes.
like giving yourself those compliments, spending time wiring your brain, right? Our brains are use dependent. And so like we have to spend time being grateful for things and appreciative of things and recognizing the positives in ourselves rather than just the things that we don't like. I can't tell you how many times I've asked clients to list the things that they like about themselves and they just kind of stare blankly at you, right? They're like, I don't know, right? And I'm like, I can think of like 50 things that I like about you. Like, right? Like,
right? It's so easy to relay that to other people.
Yeah.
I know. Even with my husband, he's a wonderful man, and he tells me all the time that you're beautiful without the makeup. And I know that I prefer myself with makeup on. And it's not that I think that I'm like terrible looking, but it comes out in our discussions, or like when I go to put the makeup on, he's like, you don't need that, you're beautiful without it. And like I think he can tell, like I really don't think I'm like really there without it, and I'm like, I just need to get I'll say I'm gonna get pretty today, and he's like, you're already pretty, and like he hates those comments, and it's like, inside is how I feel. Like I need to fix this. I need to work on this because I do. It's like I don't feel ready to present myself to anybody else out there without it on, and there's nothing wrong with makeup. It's not wrong to like makeup. It's not wrong for me to think that I'm I'm more ready for my day.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm more ready for my day in regular clothes and pajamas, and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's what is it doing in my heart, in my mind that I need to work on,
Yeah, I don't wear makeup that often, honestly. I used to wear makeup daily, and then I don't know, the pandemic or just work, I just was tired. But when I do put on makeup, my daughter has started to notice and observe me and like want makeup too,
Oh, okay.
right? And so I'm trying to like instill that makeup is for fun, right? It's not a necessity.
Right.
It doesn't make you more professional, even if there are messages in our society that women should look a certain way. Makeup is just for fun, to emphasize things you want to emphasize, to play around with different colors that you like, right? Like just like fashion is for fun, right?
Yeah.
And like, it might make us feel a certain way, and I don't think that's bad. But I do think, it's okay to just be you and to take a mask off, right? Whether that's with makeup or whether that's like with social media, ways you feel like you need to present yourself to the world.
Yeah.
It's vulnerable, but we have to start building that love for ourselves and that belief in ourselves so that we can be vulnerable with other people.
Yeah. And I again, like I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I don't wear makeup every day, but I do feel the need to put it on if I'm going beyond like the boundaries of like running errands. Like if I'm running errands, I don't wear makeup or anything like that. But if I'm on camera, my husband and I have a podcast that we do as well. And
check it out.
I will check it out. It's called the Mix Up Marriage Podcast. And I have to have makeup on for that. And it may be a little, it may be more, but I don't feel ready to go on camera without makeup. And I did do it one time. I had this like moment of boldness where we had actually been doing the podcast from our home for a little bit, and I had just like I had taken a shower and I had washed my hair. So like washing my hair and like letting it air dry while we recorded was already going to be a big thing. But I was like, okay, like I guess I don't need to put makeup on, I just took a shower anyway. And so we were podcasting and I didn't have makeup on, and it felt so uncomfortable the entire time, but I got through it, and I'm sure that afterwards I critiqued the whole thing, but I took a step and I did it, and it went as far as me not telling him to delete the whole thing. Like, it's out there. You can find it. But
on YouTube, some of you might be wondering, why do you need to wear makeup for a podcast? I am listening and I cannot see your face.
Oh,
but
right.
We are, their podcast is on YouTube, and we are on YouTube as well, where you can see us, not just hear us.
Yes, we are on YouTube. We are on all major podcast platforms as well. So, but yeah, if you are listening and wondering if that is true, that's why. But that was a step for me. I haven't done it again, but I take it as a win because I went that far, and that was major for me.
Yeah,
and
I'm proud of you.
Why? I guess I have to like go check into some therapy counseling sessions myself and find out why is that such a big deal for me that I just don't feel ready or accepted. And honestly, like I do a pretty natural look of makeup in general, and so I bet if I really asked other people out there, can you tell that much whether I have a lot on or not, they may not even say, well, I didn't even pay attention to that, But
I wonder if anybody even noticed on the
one that I didn't.
Yeah, if they were like,
I don't know.
She looks
in
different.
my mind, probably, but in my mind, I'm thinking like, they would have noticed. I would have looked a certain way. But one thing, and I'll say this is an experience. As you can tell, I'm really still working on this part. But one thing that I think happens that plays a part, not realizing it, is when I don't have makeup on, I've noticed that people may comment, and I have been out like with others, they'll ask like, Or they'll say, "Oh, you look so tired."
Yeah.
And it's like, I look bad. I take that as I look bad right now because I might be fully rested. I
Yeah.
might have felt okay again up until that moment. I might have felt completely okay. But after they ask, "Oh, you look so tired. Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And that, and
But
then
that's not on you. That's on our culture and our society that has made us so used to seeing women with makeup on that a barefaced woman looks tired versus just natural or normal, right? Because no, we line our eyes and we put mascara on. It makes them look wide open, and
we look awake.
yeah, yeah. And so you were just not fake awake.
Yeah,
right.
right. Right. But I take it, and this is where like the work comes in. I take it so hard.
Yeah.
Those kind of moments I take so hard.
Yeah, those little moments,
And I'm
can,
like,
get
I'm never
in there.
stepping out again without the eyeliner on.
Yeah. And I'm
Self-kindness. I have to just learn to
well,
make it my own.
it's a practice. It's a practice. And I'm going to use a definition here by Kristen Neff, PhD. She is one of the kind of like founding researchers in this term of self-compassion. And she's been doing this for like 20 years, right? Self-compassion, according to Kristen Neff, is simply the process of turning compassion inward. We are kind and understanding rather than harshly self-critical when we fail, make mistakes, or feel inadequate. We give ourselves support and encouragement rather than being cold and judgmental when challenges and difficulties arise in our lives. Research indicates that self-compassion is one of the most powerful sources of coping and resilience we have available to us, radically improving our mental and physical well-being, right? Even our physical health. It motivates us to make changes and to reach our goals, not because we're inadequate, but because we care and want to be happy. And so self-compassion, it's good for us, right? Like it's so good for us, but I think it's also good for our relationships.
It is.
Yeah. It's good for us as parents to practice self-compassion. One, the role modeling part, like that's huge. But also, there's research that says that when we have self-compassion in parenting, compassion for ourselves, that mindfulness and self-compassion are associated with lower levels of parenting stress. Right. So we're less stressed out as parents. We have more tolerance for stressful situations and frustrating behaviors. And also we're going to practice authoritative or gentle parenting styles more often when we're practicing that self-compassion for ourselves.
Right. Yeah. And that self-compassion, that self-kindness, it comes, I took so much time with talking about the physical appearances and stuff like that, but it involves, did I give my kids fast food for dinner tonight?
Yes.
And if I did, that's okay.
Yeah.
Did they get a meal? Were they provided for today? Yes. Do I want to make it a habit to have that every single day of the month of January? No.
No.
But
and think about this. Like if you were beating yourself up for giving them fast food, right? If you're in that mindset of, oh my gosh, I'm a bad mom. My kids are going to be so unhealthy if I keep doing this. And that lady in the drive-thru is probably judging me.
Like they know my order.
Yeah. How do they know me by now? Right. And so if you're in that mindset, how are you going to respond when your child comes to you with a problem? How are you going to respond if your kids start fighting in the back seat? You're going to be way more likely to yell and to get angry.
Oh, right? Those car rides. Only the Lord knows what happens in there.
But I think too, our self-talk matters, and the way that we talk to ourselves as parents has a lot of influence on how we then interact with our kids, right? I was talking about how I had this incident with my daughter throwing a tantrum previously, and she is really out of control. And for me in that moment, I was really tempted to go into like the negative thoughts in my head about like, oh my gosh, like I need to get this kid under control. We're going to be so late. I should have gotten up earlier. I should have done this. I should have done that. And like to just stop in the moment and tell myself like, okay, if I want to get through this, I can be calm. People can wait and they will, and it will be okay. And we're going to get through this day a lot better if I'm understanding of her. I can do this, right? I can stay calm. Like that self-talk is going to make me way more responsive to her than like the previous way and the self-critical talk that comes in. It's hard, and I don't do it all the time, and I'm certainly not perfect. But
I've said before with Maurice that a lot of my prayer is just conversation with God throughout the day, and in moments like that, self-talk. For me, I have learned to just include God in the moment. And so one thing that I do if I do need to take a step back and like have that moment to like reset my mind, I start with just like, okay, thank you, God. Thank you. And then like I go on to say like, Lord, I need to just stay calm, or, you know, in that example of a moment, like stay calm in this moment. Let me just refocus on like what to do, what's okay, what not to beat myself up on, and just be with me. And, you know, it's just that reminder, like, Lord, you are with me. And so I just have to remember, like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm in the house by myself with my pets all day. And so it's like the Lord is with me too. And so in stressful moments that come once they get off the bus for the whole evening, it's like he didn't walk out off shift, when my kids get in the door. I may act like he did and not use him, but just in those moments, just remembering like I can have peace and rest in God in the moment that may still be a little chaotic. But
I think that's so important, because I think religion for a lot of people has been used against them, has been used as a tool for shame, right? You're not good enough. You are bad. Like you have all of these evil influences. And like we can get into that mindset as well of like letting the negative thoughts from not being good enough or having made mistakes, having sinned, right? Like, those thoughts can come into our head a lot too. And I think my heart breaks when people have been hurt by religion in that way, because I think they're, for Christians, we do have so much grace, so much forgiveness. And I think God sees us with love and kindness towards us. That is his character.
Right.
And so like to remember that part of God and not just thinking about like the ways that you've let God down.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like those moments in the car that I say only God knows. It's like I do feel like, oh man, that was awful. But I have to remember that like he would have been there if I would have just like used him in that moment. And then he's not going to just like say to me over and over like, you did that so wrong, why did you do that? I have the opportunity to go to him and cast it to him and allow him to work on me with that.
Yeah. So I think like when we're practicing this self-compassion, whether you're somebody who, has a higher power or not, I think there's room for self-compassion. And, we then are kinder. We're more forgiving. We are more empathic or empathetic. People say that word differently. So I'm going to be kind to myself and let myself say it however I want. It's going to help us to be that way with others, though, right? Like when we have instilled that in ourselves, I always think that when I hear somebody be really, really harsh to themselves, it's like, are you secretly thinking that about me too?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if you are being so hard on yourself about that, do you really think like that I'm okay?
Yeah,
or you
right.
thinking you should really use some eyeliner,
Yeah.
girl, right? Like, it's hard to kind of get to trust people when you
Right.
hear them being so hard
That's
on
so true.
themselves. Yeah.
Yep.
And so like with our kids, if we're practicing that self-compassion, we're going to have more trust with them. We're going to have more patience with them. We're going to be able to sit with them through their difficult emotions more when we're treating ourselves with kindness. So we're more compassionate with others when we're compassionate with ourselves. It's about having that self-talk, that we build that compassion. It's about, kind of having that self-awareness of how we are thinking and talking to ourselves.
Yeah, right. And how it reflects in our day to day, and again, like back to like behavior and feeling being in correlation with all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that self-care kind of practices are a big part of how we can be kind to ourselves. And I'm not just talking about like using face masks, because that can be something you do as an act of self-kindness. But I think, taking care of ourselves because we love ourselves, and what are the things that we would do to ourselves because we love ourselves, right? Maybe it's exercise,
Right.
eating healthy, right? Like those are acts of self-kindness.
And I think one way to, if you think like, oh, how can I be kind to myself? Think of if you were to give a gift to someone else and not really know them, what would you give them? And it would be something that maybe you would enjoy yourself, and like maybe start there if you're trying to think like, well, how do I treat myself to something,
Absolutely. Yeah, it can be those
kind of things,
those little things like lighting a candle in your
right.
house.
I was just gonna say, like, would I gift a candle?
Yeah.
So maybe a candle would be something I would just decide to gift myself one day.
Yeah. And actually
that,
burn, because that's the thing. I have like so many candles, and then I was like rarely burning them. Also tea. We have a whole cupboard full of tea.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess I should drink more tea.
Yeah.
And so, it's the practice, right? If I make myself that cup of tea and I savor it, and I maybe even like hold it up to my chest and let it warm me up.
Something about a hot beverage.
Yeah. Like if I soak that in, that makes it an act of self-kindness. You can have a cup of tea and just like chug it and not even be aware that you're having it, right? And sometimes I do that with my coffee. But, like we can make the practice, the act of even these small things, acts of kindness towards ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, just focusing in on your breathing, doing like meditations, watching the way that you're thinking with gratitude, practicing forgiveness.
Fast-paced environment, just taking that calm stillness sometimes. It feels so like odd to us because we are like an on-the-go generation.
Yeah. I think there's so much to be said about how to be kind to yourself and how to teach that to your children.
Yeah, so stay tuned. We will probably dive into this more.
Yeah, and let us know if you have thoughts or more things to consider. You can send us an email or a message. We would love to hear that. Angie, can you tell us more about how to do that?
Yeah, sure. You can reach us at whomadethismesspod@gmail.com, or find us on Instagram at whomadethismesspodcast. Again, if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. And also, we would love to hear from you. We'd welcome a good review if you did enjoy this conversation.
Absolutely. Guys, take care. Thanks.
Thanks.